Again, so it's nice to see everyone. I didn't get to give you a hug, Christina.
Yeah.
I'll get it, no worries. I'll get my hug. Thanks for being here, everyone. It's good to see you again. Very good to see you. It feels, I don't know why, but it feels like longer than a month this time, doesn't it? Right?
Yes, it does.
It really does. For some reason that happens. Let me just tell you where I will be out and about coming up. Meeting here, next month we're not meeting on the second Wednesday of the month, but we're going to meet the following Tuesday, which is the 16th. So just make a note of that, because you don't want to be banging on the door on the normal day and have nobody answer. All right, so make a note of that. And I will send out a reminder in my June newsletter, just so you remember. And I think if you've ever registered here, you get reminders anyway, so you'll be kept up to date. The New York City Enlightenment Power Group. The next one is June 8th. And what we do in June and July there is, for anyone that has been to the city group, it's right on Central Park, and on the roof they have a really beautiful rooftop there. So in the July and June meeting, if the weather is good, we usually bring beverages with us, and we take at least a part of the meeting up onto the roof with the most gorgeous view of all of Manhattan. So not only is it a wonderful place when we're in our own room, but then for the couple of months over the summer we get to add a little spark to it. So if you haven't been there yet, join us in one of those 2 months. Let's see. This coming Sunday, I've got 2 workshops in New Jersey. The first one I'm going to read everybody in the room to get at least one of their past lives. And it's very interesting to be at an event like that because you learn how relevant past lives really are. Because you get a lot of giggles out of it. People, if they're there with a sister or a spouse, everybody's like, yeah, that makes so much sense, and they're pointing to the other person, and you're like, oh, okay. And then you find weird stuff, like you have an artifact in your house that you keep holding on to for no particular reason, and you find out it's connected to a past life. You find out all of these really cool threads of idiosyncrasies and explanations for some of the stuff that happens today. So that's a fun event. The second event is musical affirmations with David Young. A lot of you have met David Young. He's probably the world's most renowned New Age artist. I think he has 30 million CDs out there or something like that, a couple of Grammy nominations and so on. But what we do together is I read everybody that's there, and between what they want to focus on, what the individuals want to focus on, but then what I intuit from their guides that would be a really good, powerful affirmation for them where they are at this moment. Then David he composes a little song for them. And we record the song right there, so you have your own personalized musical affirmation that you take with you. The reason we put this event together is because they have made these incredible scientific discoveries that if you take an idea or a thought and you put it to a song or a jingle, the probability of you remembering it, or the amount that you'll remember, goes like through the roof, like exponentially. You just don't forget it when it's set to a tune because the lyric stays in your head. And the way that I can attest to that is that I can still remember this song I learned in like 9th grade French, and I remember every word. And unless I want to go dancing on the bridge in Avignon, I can't communicate with anyone in France. But if they want to dance on the bridge with me, I'll just sing to them because I still remember the tune. So it's amazing how it just locks into your brain in a different way. And I can't think of anything that you would prefer to have locked into your mind for instant recall than a positive affirmation. Okay? So if you can make your way down there. In June, the event on 613 in New Jersey, that event is called Soul Smart. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at how we intersect with people. We're going to be talking about deja vu. We're going to be talking about feelings of familiarity when you meet someone. We're going to be talking about if I could get a sentence out, I would say that we're going to be talking about finishing each other's sentences. If someone could have finished that sentence for me, everything would have been good in the world again. But no one took it up, all right? So that's why you have to come to Soul Smart, so you can learn how to finish my sentences. But we're going to be learning, like for example, I was at the our Enlightenment Power Group in the city on Monday night, and we were doing paired up activities. And when I went over to one pair, I know they don't know each other. I paired up people that really didn't know each other. And this pair is working on an exercise. And as soon as I walked over, I knew that they knew each other in a past life. So here they are, pretending they don't know one another. And to me, it always looks a little silly. Like, why are you guys pretending you don't know each other? Because I know already that you know one another, right?
Sorry.
So I told them that they knew each other. And I said, well, what they were working on in their exercise, I said, try to find out how you know each other, okay? And that's what I left them with. Now, as I'm walking away, I whispered, I know they didn't hear me, but I kind of whispered and walked away, and I said, don't forget to ask her how you've been since 1780, right? And I'm walking away because I just think it's funny, and I'm saying it to myself. So I come back to them later, and I'm like, how are you doing? And these are people that are just really beginning to get this whole intuition thing. And we found out how we knew each other. Apparently we knew each other during the French Revolution. So not me, geographically and historically illiterate. I'm like, when was the French Revolution? And she said, oh, late 1700s, around 1780 or so. I'm like, oh, okay. So like that kind of topic is what we'll be covering. And I think I find it really fascinating how we intersect and how the magnetic energy of love through our soul's journey brings us together. I will be hosted by White Lightning. I believe that's what it's called. No, that's not right?
It just might be White Light.
White Light Productions.
White Light,
Yeah.
White Light Productions.
I think
White Light Productions on June 15th, and I'll be doing questions and answers, just answering any questions that anybody has. I've been there before, and it's a really high level of awareness audience there, so we get some fascinating questions.
But where in
It's a really
Holbrook?
good group. It's on my website.
Okay.
Yeah, you can just look it up on the events page. The Eyes of Learning, I'll be there on Friday the 19th of June. And this one, I haven't talked about adopting a new energetic pattern of becoming an abundance magnet. I haven't talked about that in a while. So we're going to be talking about, living with the element of money, living in the material world, okay? And I'll do questions and answers there always, because also high level of awareness audience, so they come up with some really cool topics.
What
there
time
as
is
well.
the Eyes of Learning? 7 to 9:30?
Usually 8 to about 10:30.
8. Yeah, I always remember that one's a little later. 8. Okay? And then I'll be back at the lodge at the spa at the end of July. It's always nice to go there. And I do try to teach you guys a trick. If you register with my name, you get $25 off. Not a lot when you're spending $18,000, but every little bit helps. Hope you're not watching. Sorry. I didn't mean that. But also, I do speak Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. And Sunday night's a lot less expensive. So you can even just come and, enjoy Sunday night into Monday. And it's so much less expensive that you really, you still get the chance to be there in that environment. And this year's annual Sunset Seminar and Soiree and Supper on the beach will be on Thursday, July 16th, okay? And because of that event, we will not be holding the Enlightenment Power Group here the week before. So join us out in Town Beach. I think that's it for now. Anybody have any questions? That's enough, right? That's the stuff that's open to the public, by the way. Okay? Anybody have any questions? We're all good? 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 All right, mark your calendars. I can give you a date to save for the future, which would be September 19th, Saturday. It'll be my next full-day event. And already we're starting to get a lot of fun and exciting things planned. And you know my one-day events. When I say one day, I mean one time only, because I don't repeat them. I love the magic of putting something together and bringing all kinds of new stuff in, and then I don't know, I put it in my archives and I do something new next time. It's just the way I work.
Is that like a 1 o'clock thing?
It'll be the normal, like 1 to 7 kind of day on Saturday, September 19th.
Where's that?
That will be in Setauket and East Setauket
Setauket House.
at the Setauket House. Okay, thank you to Jeanette, who's always able to very nicely get me that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful venue each year. So I always appreciate Jeanette for that. Yay! Thank you, Jeanette. Okay. So there's a lot going on in the news. I'd like to start out with the news. We'll talk about the news a little bit today. And I did have quite a few people write in this month about topics that they would like me to speak about. So I'll try to get to those. I missed a couple of them last month, and it was kind of a little sad to read their letters the next day. One person was online, another person, was here, and it's like, oh, I so much wanted to hear about blah, blah, blah. I do my best, but as you know, I'm guided, so sometimes I get guided away from your question. It's always my intention to cover everything, but I can get off on a tangent or two once in a while. It happens. But I will try to get to the questions that were given to me. But I want to play a game after we take a break. And let me find my little bag here. Share a pen if you don't have a pen. But what I want to do is after the break, when I typically do questions and answers, we should have time for questions and answers as well. I want everybody to write one word on this index card. One word and one word only. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull some of the cards out, and I'm simply going to listen to guides to see what they have to say about that one word. That simple. Just a little game, and let's see what happens with it. Okay? How does that sound?
We're doing the word now?
Yeah, write the word down and pass them up to me.
Any word or
any
a
word
word that has to do with us?
Any word.
Okay.
Any word. Okay? And now, as we start tonight's topic, let me first hear from Michelle. Michelle, tell us what's Michelle, please tell us what's happening with American Heart this month.
American Heart this weekend.
Well, I didn't hear you. Stand up. What did you say?
Killed by American Heart on the death certificate. Overwork and undertaking. Actually, American Heart has been doing, this month has been a lot of energy going on. Last Friday night I had my heart call, and it was at the Museum of American Armor, and it was absolutely beautiful.
Wow.
And what was beautiful about it is that we had speakers that spoke, so I think I told you a while ago that we had changed our whole marketing thing, and it's life is why. Why are you doing the things you do? What motivates you to do things? And with Heart, what we're trying to do is get people to be motivated to be better physically, mentally, spiritually, etc. So the docs who were speaking that night all spoke about life is why.
Huh.
And it was fantastic. We couldn't have had a better commercial for Heart that night. It was just awesome. So that was Friday night. So this coming weekend, out in Montauk and starting in Southampton, going out to Montauk and going around, we have a bike ride. And Sunday we have a 5K walk run at Puglisi Winery. So if anybody's interested in doing something like that, please do. We have a golf event coming up. We have in June 15th, and we have an East End gala coming up June 13th. So there's a lot going on. Go on our website. There's a tremendous amount of information for you. Again, being connected to everything, being connected to your mind, body, soul. You need to take care of yourself, and that's the bottom line. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Thank you. And last official announcement of the evening that I can remember, at least anyway, I would like everyone to know, if they haven't seen it on Facebook today, that tonight is the last night that Mary Ann will be with us. So she's moving. Happily, it's a change that she really wanted. Huh?
I'm moving to Wilmington.
Yeah.
Wilmington, North Carolina.
Congratulations. Are you excited?
Yeah, I will. No, I'm intending to do live stream, so.
Okay, cool.
I will see you, all you folks.
She wants?
Yeah, she wants it. On the move.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely, yeah, definitely. It's stressful, though, I was very stressed out this morning when the
Yeah.
truck was here.
She tried to wheedle out of coming tonight, and I did not allow that, so she's now more stressed.
Yeah, well, I made it work.
You made it work. Happily? Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's nice to see you. And we'll have to just say hello to you on occasion, live stream. All right, everybody, 1, 2, 3, say hi. Say hello. Okay, let's start with a few things in the news. I'm going to start out with a topic, and then if anybody else has any topic of something, because I don't pay attention to the news, it has to come to me by somebody. But if there's anything that you're curious about or you want an explanation for, then you'll have to fill me in on what's going on in the news, and then I'll give you some insight. The objective always is to see something from a different perspective and not necessarily the way that it is relayed by the media, and to get some insights into why people intersect in the way that they do and why things happen. Okay? If anyone is familiar, there was a train derailing yesterday in the Philly area. And they'll still do some investigating to find out exactly what happened, but it appears that taking a particular curve that should have been taken at 50 miles an hour might have been taken at about 100 miles an hour. And it has led to lots and lots of personal tragedies for people. So far, I know that there were 7 people that died and a lot of people injured. So when things like this happen, we do understand by being a part of this group that there's nothing random in the universe, which means that no matter how difficult we perceive an intersection to be, or how difficult it seems, the way something unfolds, we have to always have a little bit of faith in our knowledge that things happen with purpose. And even if we can't unfold what the purpose is, just always remembering that helps us to see the event as having some meaning and not being empty or unnecessary or anything like that. And I don't mean that we have predestiny, because there is no predestiny, but we do have the energies of each of us as we're having our soul's journey in this human experience. We are always given these opportunities for discovery. The universe knocks on the door and says, oh, you forgot something. You knew this when you were born, but you seem to not remember it right now. So let's see if we can get you to remember it, because that's going to really help you to have a happier life here, but it's also going to help you in the development of your soul, which is why you came here to begin with. Now, oftentimes, a person will be a catalyst in others' discoveries, even more than they will have the discovery for their own learning. So it doesn't mean that someone's being punished because they forgot universal truth, or they forgot what's important, or they have their priorities messed up, or they're not being punished. It's not like that. You can intersect with what seems to be an incredibly difficult circumstance, but it could be because on your soul's journey, with your purpose in being here to begin with, that particular activity or happening or experience could be what could be the knock on the door to all of the people that know and love you. And even beyond that, it could be all the people that know and love the people that love you. So it's not only about you. And that helps to take the onus off of the why me part of it. Like, why did this happen to me? Things happen with us. They happen with us. And with my ability to play and hang out in the energy realm and to chat with souls that have had physical lives and chat with souls that haven't had physical lives, I get to see that we have zero attachment to the number of years that we live here. It has no meaning. It has no value. How could it have value if there's no such thing as time. So even though we quantify and qualify how long a person should live, right? And then we say, oh, too young, too young, too young, too young, too young, too young. In the energy realm, there really is no perfect age to live to. And it doesn't mean that you're a stronger or a better soul if you make it 9 decades instead of 2. It just means that in your soul's journey in being here, what you aimed to achieve, what you aimed to contribute, it might have best been served by you returning home after a decade or 2 or 3 rather than after 9 or 10. So there's no judgment in the energy realm. There's no assertion that the quality of someone's life was better than the quality of someone else's life. There isn't the ability to judge because there's no better or worse. There's no right or wrong. There is just love. And there is just comprehension. We understand how things happen. We understand why people bump into each other. We understand how someone could be in a train that derails. We understand how someone could be in a train that derails and they go back home and another person is in the same train and they are uninjured. We just have such comprehension of how all of this works. And we work toward helping people on earth take advantage of the opportunities rather than to get crushed by the opportunities. And that's always the goal. You know, sometimes I'll come across a soul that has just returned home and they were young, 17, 23, and I'll be communicating with them and I feel overwhelmed by the joy that they feel in guiding people who are here. They're not feeling any pain. They're not feeling any loss. They're not like, if I could just have stayed there a couple more decades, everything would have been perfect. None of that is there. What I see more of is that they're so excited by their comprehension of their physical journey. And with everything making so much sense to them, all the illusions melt away, all of the difficult or uncomfortable circumstances, they're like pieces of a puzzle that just line up and fit ever so perfectly. And then they just start turning that passion to guiding those who they know are aligned with what their soul's intention is. And it might be souls that they discovered after their own return home, that they discovered that their missions are aligned, but it could be that it was someone that they knew before they were born, and we kind of leaped into this lifetime together with the same overall altruistic quest. Like one of the fun things that I really get to see is if I'm doing a session with someone, if a person wants to communicate with someone that just passed away to help them with grief, you know, a mother or an aunt or a friend or a child, I'm not necessarily the one they're going to come to because my practice is not based on mediumship. So when you come to me, yeah, I can bring in your past relatives, but what's going to happen more often is that the souls that are guiding you, that mediums aren't going to find, are going to be the ones that I find. Because I haven't trained myself to attune only to your biological or friendship connections. I am able to see what souls are there and why they're there for you. I can't tell you how many times I've been sitting with someone and we had like a surprise visitor. And I know it's a surprise to the person I'm sitting with, so that makes it easier for me. And I can narrow things down. This person was male. He left his body between the ages of 17 and 20. I believe you knew him briefly in high school. He might have been one of your siblings' friends. You know, I'll give you enough of a little bit of information to narrow it down, and usually people figure out pretty quickly who it is. But then, after they figure out who it is, then they get past, like, well, I wasn't even friends with him. Like, why would he guide me, right? And I'm like, well, you have to understand the soul's journey. We don't care about the things that we care about on earth. We don't care about having, data logs. he spoke to me 4 times. He didn't speak to me. He forgot my birthday. I've spoken with this one for 6 years every day. I've spoken to this one 6 times only. So there's no measurement of more significant or less significant. You could have one interaction with a person, and that could be a very significant, meaningful, soul-to-soul relationship. So the first thing is that we get rid of the illusion that you were insignificant to them. Just like we are not insignificant to nearly the numbers of people that we think we're insignificant to. That I find comical sometimes. Then they'll say, well, the reason I guide you is because I returned home because my life was really, really challenging to me. And there were some circumstances that if I went back home, it could be possibly illuminating for a lot of people that knew me, like how people looked at me, how they interacted with me, how they treated me, how they may have ignored me, And so if I'm out of the picture, they can start to think about things that they weren't thinking about when I was here. And I noticed when I returned home, I noticed that you are one who does think about how you treat people. Like, you always said hello to me. You never made fun of me. You never ignored me. You always smiled at me. And so I got that you have the same mission I had in coming here, except you aren't as encumbered as I was being in the physical form, because that kindness in you, that ability to love anyone, still shone through in you. So why don't I put my attention right here, because you already have the potential to touch and reach so many more people than someone who is so much more heavily encumbered. This happens all the time. All the time. So the reason I'm giving you this background is because, like, one of the people that had died on the train yesterday was a 20-year-old young man. And of course, all accounts of him is he was industrious, he was polite, he was kind, he was, all these wonderful things, full of life, beginning life. And so it's like, your first reaction is, oh, that doesn't make any sense. Why was his life cut so short? Doesn't mean it's not sad. It doesn't mean that we wouldn't prefer to change the outcome. But since this already did happen, it's better to understand that there's a threaded beauty into it. There's something woven into it that matters, that it's not for no reason, that it's not insignificant, that it's not simply loss. And even if a person that died yesterday was 60, even if somebody was 88 or somebody was any other age, there is no complete loss in any experience on earth. There's always potential for gain and for discovery. So our objective is to, at a minimum, say, I don't know why this happened, but I know that there's great value in this experience, the way that it did unfold. And then, if you open up and you try to intuit a little bit, you can probably get a couple of pops about some of the benefits that were enfolded into the happening. So, let's look at the metaphor of the train. I always tell you, you have to look at the physical manifestation as a projection of our consciousness. So let's look at metaphors. Number one, a train. Every vehicle has a different metaphor. So let's look at if we're having a dream, to help you interpret dreams. If you have a dream and you're walking, the dream is about you accomplishing something or going somewhere or heading toward a goal entirely of your own power. There's no vehicle, there's no machine. If you're running in your dream, it's that you want to get somewhere very quickly because you're amping up your power. If you're in a car and you're the driver, it means you're finding a more expedient method to get to your goal, but you're still in the driver's seat. So it could be a metaphor of needing to be in control or needing to get somewhere faster, but you still are the operator of the vehicle. If you're in a plane, the metaphor is that you want to see things from a higher perspective. You want to get out of your cement earth boots that's so limiting. The view just on Earth can be so limiting in your day-to-day life. You want to hop off the Earth and see things from a global view, from an eternal view. You want to soar and be free, not get stuck in traffic, not get a red light ticket, just to be. Now, even the metaphor of flying, are you the pilot or are you a passenger? So the metaphors just go on and on and on. So the metaphor of a train would be to be able to get from one place to another quickly, to have faith in someone else helping you in heading toward your goal, that you don't have an excessive need to be in control, to eliminate a lot of the earthly obstacles that might come from navigating yourself there, like traffic and traffic lights, to be able to get there a little bit more quickly, and also to introduce the possibility, because we're looking at a long train ride here, not just a local train ride, but also the possibility to give you some time off, to let someone else do the work of getting you to your goal, and you get to relax, or sleep, or dream, or do something, look out the window, see new sights. But the train is also on the ground, and it's on a track. So it doesn't have you don't have the liberty to go to a higher plane and really see things from a higher perspective. So it does mean that the goal it is that you're reaching is a relatively human goal, because you're staying connected to the earth. So now we understand the metaphor of a train. Now, the accident seems to have been caused by excessive speed, around a turn. What's one of the challenges that we're having here on Earth right now? Too much. Too much. There's too much. Too much to do, too much to know, too much expected of us, too much money to be made in order to survive. There's just too much of everything now, which is kind of intriguing, because just about every modern invention, let's say modern being since like the early 1900s, every modern invention was designed to make life easier so that you could free your time up to do the things you want to do, right? Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, it did that. Because imagine we all had to leave here tonight and go, beat our clothes down by the river with a rock. We might not be able to go to work tomorrow, and we have to do that again next week. And don't forget, Sunday is baking day. You got to bake all the bread for the whole week. So somehow it did free us up a lot, but the more we got freed, the more we forgot to choose our priorities of what it is that we wanted to fill that space with. So speed is about priorities. It's about wondering, how fast should we really get any one particular place? Or is there a different route that's more appealing to me? One that has more views, more peace, more peaks, literally. What do we want to choose for ourselves? How much do we want to rush to wherever it is that we want to go next? So the metaphor actually is a very human metaphor on this particular train, and the people who were on that train are great opportunities for discovery for everyone that was on that train and everybody that knows everybody that was on the train. The idea might be that people contemplate, why was the engineer taking that curve so quickly? And then they might be, sitting at a picnic on Sunday saying, people just have to slow down. Maybe they'll cancel something and show up at the picnic. There is this chance that this stuff can come. And then far more intimately as you get closer to someone that you know who was on the train. But it's all there for benefit. It's all there for us to think. And now you add into that every person who was affected directly, they had stuff going on in their own lives. So we really can't even begin. There was hundreds of people on the train. We can't even begin to imagine the individual repercussions of being on that train that day. How is it going to affect them? How is it going to affect the people that love them? How are they going to think differently? What aha moments are they going to get? How are they going to change? How might they reprioritize what it is that they're doing? Will someone quit a job? Will someone get married? Will someone have a baby? Will someone be more loving? Will someone be more kind to everyone? Did someone get helped by someone that they were prejudiced against? Like, you can't even imagine how many connections unfolded from this, how many possibilities unfolded from this. So obviously these things happen because they're designed to help us get closer to having higher positive levels of awareness as individuals and collectively. The bigger the tragedy, the greater the reach, the more the purpose of the opportunity is to affect a greater number of people, to give us some other way of thinking about things, other ways of perceiving things. It would be so wonderful if we could have these events happen, and as a person that's distant with no personal connection, if we could use it as a catalyst for our own discoveries and growth. Because then as individuals, something that didn't even touch you personally could be something that helps you to have fewer challenges in your life, because you were able to make the benefits from an experience that didn't touch you directly, rather than having the universe come and knock on your door directly. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I always refer to the 2 years when I was, peeling off the masks and layers, and I was making all my discoveries. I didn't know the outcome. No one ever said, this is what's going to happen if you do this, Karen. Here's how your life is going to change. No one ever told me. I didn't even know what enlightenment was. I just didn't know any of this. I just did the things that were suggested to me by non-physical sources because they had already proven to me that the wisdom they had was greater than the wisdom I'd heard from anybody on earth. And when I listened to them, I got to better places than if I was listening to people. So I'm like, I'm going to opt out of the people bit, and I'm going to go here instead. And the more I went there, the more all of this stuff got so much better. But I didn't expect that I would have almost like hardly any challenges as a result. Peeling off my human stuff means the universe doesn't have to knock at my door to remind me of something that I forgot, because I'm in an active state of remembering everything. So I don't get the knocks on the door that everybody else gets. I don't have to learn by having something make me pause and stop and think. I'm learning in real time. It's not even learning, I'm remembering. I'm remembering in real time. On a day-to-day basis, I'm taking in the messages every single day of my life. So I let happiness knock on my door. And happiness knocks on my door, and that's what I learn from. I don't learn from tragedy, because there aren't any personal tragedies that would remind me of something that I forgot anymore. And it wouldn't change what I do either. Would I now quit my job and go and work somewhere else or start a brand new career if I had something big happen in my life? No. The stuff that was knocking on my door 10 years ago was the knock to go do what I'm doing now, which I never knew existed. How was I supposed to answer the knock if I had no idea that this was a job? But the point was, I would have things that would be agitating in my work career. I just thought it was life. And I just, found the strength or the courage or the intellect or the ingenuity to overcome the annoyances, one after the other after the other. I didn't realize that the big picture was, this career is not compatible with my soul's intention. I just thought this is the way life goes, right? But the more it gets agitating, the more the universe is asking you to pay attention to what it is that you're doing and why you're doing it. because more than likely you're being asked to step away and to do something differently and to get over the fear that everything in the universe is going to collapse if you do step away and try something different. Right? Anyone have any thoughts?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so let me continue. Anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Seems the trend this year is that metaphor of the train. There's been a lot of
Yes.
train incidents
Yes.
this year.
Yes. That's actually everyone. A lot of you are way too young to know Romper Room. Anybody remember Romper Room? Okay, so let's say hello to a few people who are live streaming. But that particular question about the train came from a person who's live streaming. So everybody say hi. Hi. I see Kathy. I see Lucy. I see Paul. I'm aging myself. I'm sorry. No, my older siblings watched it. And they told me about it. I got older. Okay. But yes. And that's the reason why of the questions that I got this week, that was one of the reasons why I chose that particular incident to talk about, was because it is a recurring metaphor. And when you see an incident, you can gain tons and tons of aha moments and awakening from it. But when you see an incident being repeated, and it's coming in numbers, 1, 2, 3 times, that means that the maximum energetic benefit that could happen from that specific occurrence hasn't been exhausted yet. So there's more that we can extract. So we're going to keep the theme going a little bit longer until we can extract the benefit. Okay? So repetition on Earth is very purposeful. That's why, even though I know what reactions might be to, police shootings right now, I don't view it necessarily the same way, because I understand the power of repetition. I understand that when we exhaust all of the potential benefit from that particular recurring theme, then that will also fade. Okay?
So you're saying the benefit from these police officers being killed is to awaken others on how to police?
No, actually, if someone can pull up Facebook and read my post from today, if you read the post out loud from today, that's the answer. When everybody can say that sentence out loud, then the benefit will have been realized. Does anybody have the ability to do that?
Yeah, I get it.
Because it is purposeful. I know that the Facebook post today is the up here answer. But if we could get anywhere between where we are right now and here, then the benefit has been served. I know we're a long way here. I'm always going to come from here, right? But it doesn't matter. This is the goal. This is the goal.
Every human being is responsible for the quality of the world we live in. It is not a few or a specific group. It is every person. Let your contribution be one that comes from love and only from love, and encourage others to do the same. Every life matters.
That's the purpose. That's the purpose. And, I could write a really long essay, or probably even a book that would connect us step by step from where we are today to getting there. But why not just go there, right? Why not just go there? We're going to watch whatever the governing bodies are of trains now. We're going to watch them fight. We're going to watch lawsuits. We're going to watch this. We're going to watch that. We're going to watch blame. We're going to watch, why not just go from here, remedy the consequence, make sure things are safe, but let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on, right? Let's move on. Let's just get to there. Let's just get right there. Yeah.
Why don't we start a news program that talks about all the news from this standpoint?
I would love to. That's part of why I changed the theme for this year, is to do exactly that. Because I can talk in,
That talks about what?
a news program basically doing what I do, to take the news as a catalyst for us understanding the soul's development.
Absolutely.
Because I know that, in everything that we do, I'm teaching intuition development, I'm teaching you how to find abundance and your relationship with your body and with others and with money. And there's a very strong individual desire to be connected to universal knowledge, or to use me as a conduit to that information, because you want your life to be happier. But the reason I turned to this format this year is because even as you're working on your personal growth and making your own day-to-day experiences happier and happier, you still want to know how to make the world a better place. We all do. We can't help it. It's so natural, right? It's so natural. It's like the story of when I pulled over to the side of the road to get the butterfly off my windshield to try to save its life. It's just so natural, right? It's a natural thing to do. So you might as well do both instead of just one. Do both. And also what's interesting is when you're looking at the news through a global perspective, there's not one theme that I talked about here tonight that doesn't affect you personally. This is the stuff going on in your life, but you weren't on the train, right? Or you know people that are going through this stuff, or you know people that can benefit from this knock on the door. So if you get the knowledge, maybe you can prevent the knock from coming to you or from coming to someone that it is that you love.
Excuse me. You know what would be interesting is to do a documentary on people affected by these incidences, and then go back every year and see how it's changed their lives. So just for instance, in an incident in my life with Lily, who was born with a smooth brain, devastating, absolutely devastating, trach, feeding tube, never going to leave the hospital. But she's affected my life in such positive ways, it's unbelievable. I have therapy dogs because of her. I learned Reiki because of her. I mean, out of all the people I've known in my life, she has affected me more than anybody else besides, like, my mother,
Yes. And the ripples go even beyond that, because your place in the world is different now, Terry.
Yeah.
It's not only that you have therapy dogs, it's that those dogs are with people that they're actually being therapeutic with.
Yeah, absolutely.
My son got to help train your dogs, and he was opened up to the whole world of therapy and dog training, and now has this amazing relationship with them. And then he goes to school and he talks about Ken and Garvey, and then his friends talk about, Brett trains dogs. It just doesn't end.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't
absolutely.
end. It doesn't end.
Absolutely.
And it goes on and on and
but
on.
But over such a horrific, I mean, at the time, it's like, oh my God.
That would be, that would be something that I think most people would say, this doesn't serve any purpose.
Right.
So then to have a perspective of all of the ripples of possibility that are put into the water is a great thing to examine.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, I totally agree, Terry. I think it's a great idea. Yeah.
You know what's so funny is I didn't have my hand up, but yesterday there were 3 people that had somebody pass away in their life. And it was just like, I don't view it the way that the normal person views it. And I'm not quite where you're at, but like when somebody passed away, I'm like, I know. But how do I say that to somebody? And I might leave here after this and then see one of them or 2 of them, and it's just like, oh my God, I want to buy this EPG class, the video part, to send it to them, because it's just so brilliant.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw me, I'm in the back of the room
I didn't say yes to it's so brilliant. Just let's get that on the record here. Okay? I said yes. I meant yes. I know what you mean. I'll reach out and see if I can do it. No, I totally understand what you mean. And that's one of those awkward human moments where you have this knowledge and this insight and this comprehension, and it gives you such peace and you would love to share it, but you always have to wait for others to be able to show that they're open to hear a different perspective. And then my analogy is always like, if someone does open up the door for you to share a different way of looking at this, then you have to do it in the way that you would tell your kids about sex. Think about the conversation you're going to have when they're 3, and then think about the conversation you're going to have when they're 13, right? A little bit different content. Don't give them the 13-year-old speech the first time they're opening to understanding that we are eternal. That's all I'm saying. Or you turn them off to sex for the rest of their lives. And we don't want to do that. yeah, you have to use your intuition to see how many more sentences you can squeeze in there. Don't go over, but give enough of one more, just one more. Let's see what happens if I just give one more. And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand wholeheartedly what you're saying, but trying to get across to somebody that's lost a child to suicide, they're not open to getting it, nor do they want to hear what you have to say, because it's a pain that nobody can explain to them. You know, so trying to tell somebody that's, you know, your child was suffering and wanted to go back home, they're like, yeah, no, that's not working.
Yeah. Well, I don't think anyone would want to hear that if their child had committed suicide, because no one wants to believe that their child was suffering in a way that they were unaware of, but the idea that they were suffering makes them feel like they really did something terribly wrong.
Right.
And that they, you know, love should have allowed me to intuit, to intervene. I have done a lot of work with an organization that provides services to families that lost children. And because of all the time I've spent with families that lost a child, I kind of get the journey a little bit more. And so I've met a lot of parents whose child committed suicide, children who were murdered, children who died at 2, who died at 32. I don't think you can put a circumstance past me that I haven't come across. And also, I've spoken to large numbers in this group at the same time. So I can have someone walk in that's 2 weeks into the experience, someone sitting on the other room and they're 20 years into the experience. So I get that it's not going to be uniform. I have to intuit how to temper what it is that I can share that's appropriate to this particular audience. There have been so many times I'm in that particular setting where something I might have said to that group a few weeks earlier, I can't say it tonight because there's a person or a family in this room that's nowhere near ready to hear this tonight, okay? But I've also walked in, like I can remember being at a reception with, you know, dozens of families, and when I walk through, I can almost tell where they are in their journey with the separation. So it doesn't have to do with the chronological time frame of when the child went home. It has to do with where they are. There are some people that can go from total agony to spiritual maturity in 2 years. Some, it might take 3 decades, some never, some 2 weeks. The spiritual growth and the spiritual maturity is what I can attune to, so I know how to use the conduit to speak to what they are experiencing in their perception in the moment, hoping to bring them another 10% along, okay? And one of the first things is to give everyone permission to say that they have absolutely no blame in it and to help them to learn self-forgiveness. But the other thing is to show what potential benefits are in the child returning back home, and that's enormous. And the third component of it always is to help people in their spiritual maturity with it, is to help them find their own direct connection with their child, not to become reliant on a medium or not to believe that there's an absolute loss, but to know that the energy of their child is with them and working with them and bringing them comfort and ideas and solutions. So it's a journey, and here's an interesting story. For those of you who are like always like wanting to ask me where I get my nails done all the time, right? I've had my nails done 3 times. Okay, one was when my daughter went to her prom. My second was when my daughter went to her prom, and the third was because a client thought that I don't treat myself well, and so he bought me like a hair thing and a nail thing, right? So I had to block out like 2.5 hours. I'm like, how the freak am I supposed to block out 2.5 hours? But that's what I was told I had to do. So I go to this appointment, I'm going to get my hair done, I'm going to get my nails done, and, pretty princess. But what was really funny was, my hair's doing stuff, and I put my hands down, and as I'm sitting there, the nail person, the manicurist, right? So the manicurist, all of a sudden, I just got that she had lost a child. And I got the feeling that it was pretty recent. So I'm like in a nail salon. I don't have permission to enter here, and I'm never one of those people that's invasive, right? But I did notice that she, after a while, like her necklace came out, and I saw that there was an image that could open a conversation. So I just said it as though I was like saying, what kind of bread do you eat, right? And so she told me about her son and a car accident he had had, and it was about 6 months ago, and it was in my neighborhood that this boy had died, so I knew the whole story, I knew the people involved and everything. And so what I wound up doing was during this entire nail appointment, because she kept asking me questions when I told her what I did for a living, I wound up helping her enormously. She was told things in that really, really long nail appointment that she had never heard before. And so I got that this had nothing to do with me being pampered, because I just went to work. It had nothing to do with me being pampered, but this amazing, amazing co-orchestration that we have in the universe took a lot of hard-to-get-together stuff for me to intersect with her. I mean, can you imagine how hard it was for someone to get me to a nail salon? And no more daughters to go to prom, so what are we going to do now? But it worked. And then the door was open, and I let her ask the questions. I didn't insert any information. I didn't introduce anything if she hadn't asked a question. And she left there, and she basically said to me, this has been like the best hour since he died. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
Wow. What would happen if you went for a pedicure?
The only time I ever get a massage is when I'm at the spa. Like I get the red carpet treatment when I'm there. They love me there, so they would take really good care of me. So they always make sure I get a treatment when I'm there, right? So I like kind of I don't introduce the idea that I don't tell them who I am, because as soon as they find out who I am, they all have so much curiosity. Really, oh, my mother died last year. And I'm like, wow, this is my 1 hour for the next 3 months. And I get to just kind of like really turn off. And it works a lot. They're very, very courteous and respectful and professional. But every now and then, once every couple of years, it's a working massage session. It's all good, though. All right, does someone else have a question?
Earthquakes. There's been a lot of earthquakes.
Yes. Yeah. An earthquake is actually very simple metaphor for us, because remember how I always talk about how conscious energy is like droplets of water, and they evaporate. And whatever you're putting into your thoughts becomes a part of the cloud that forms, or the vapors that form. So if you are putting out a lot of thought energy or feelings that are filled with agony or anger or frustration, what's going to evaporate is this mass conscious energy of very difficult emotions. And then when those clouds get too heavy, they have to release it, all right? And it releases it through vibration. Energy doesn't die, it just gets stored. So one of the vibrational ways that consciousness can get released is through an earthquake. It happens to be one of the most literal ones, because it literally is the earth shaking. The vibration of the earth is moving, okay? And so what it is designed to do, any kind of a weather-related tragedy or circumstance, is a way for us to go straight to compassion without passing go. No one to blame. There's no one to be mad at. We just say it was nature or it just happened. So So we go straight to helping, supporting, infusing an area with love and resources. And so one of the reasons why huge weather experiences happen is exactly that, to infuse love into regions that have had a lot of angst, thought, consciousness evaporate into that area, okay? And so then it's another way of getting people who are not even connected to the region or haven't had any personal experience with it to, again, reprioritize, refocus, donate time or money or love or compassion or thoughts, or just hug a kid a little extra, or be a little kinder, or be a little more appreciative. So it's still providing an opportunity for the people in the region to get this huge infusion of love, but it helps everyone to perhaps see things through a more loving lens in their own life. Now, if there's a person involved when there's a tragedy, then we actually take a different path in the way we react. We start thinking about blame and finding the facts and punishment and retribution and hatred and anger. You take all those emotions away, we can get right to the purest possibility, which is love, help, support, compassion. All right, we're going to take a little bit of a break. I know that went fast today, didn't it? I didn't even get to the other news story I wanted to cover.
Do you have these cards collected?
Yeah, just put them like face down on the table up here. Go take a break, mingle, get to know each other.